Alright, today we're going to go over the Solve Systems by Elimination worksheet. Remember, this is for geometry. It's the white packet. It's got 18 questions. Now remember, we're going to focus on elimination steps. So here's the steps you're going to be using for elimination. Step 1, you're going to line up your x's, your y's, and equal sign. Step 2, you're going to make matching numbers with opposite signs. Sometimes it'll be done for you. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes you have to multiply one equation by a number. Sometimes you have to multiply both equations by different numbers. You're going to add vertically. It will result in something you can solve pretty easily. You'll get a number answer. And steps 4 and 5 are exactly the same as substitution. So you're going to take your number answer, plug in the original, solve again, get another number answer, then write your answer as an ordered pair. So number 1, remember it's 2x plus 2y. So step 1 is already done for you. And actually, so is step 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add vertically. As I'm just going to say, look, those y's already match. They have opposite signs, so I'm going to add, and we get negative x equals 3. Divide by negative 1 on both sides. I get x equals negative 3. I take that negative 3, I'm going to plug it into either of the originals. I'll plug it into the top. So when we're at the top as 2, instead of x, I'm going to put negative 3 plus 2y equals 10. And remember, I put negative 3 in for x. I solve. I get negative 6 plus 2y equals 10. I add 6 to both sides. I get 2y equals 16. Divide by 2, divide by 2. I get y equals 8. So I have an x, I have a y. The last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to write that as an ordered pair. Negative 3, 8 is the solution. Now I'm going to look at number 2. Number 2 is already set up because I have matching x's with opposite signs. So step 1 and step 2 are done. So I have to add vertically. 4x and negative 4x, those cancel out. I end up with 5y equals 20. Divide by 5 on both sides. I get y equals 4. I'm going to take that 4, I'm going to plug it in to the original problem. I'll pick the top. It doesn't matter if you pick the top or the bottom. So I'm going to have 4x plus 3, but instead of y, I'm going to put 4 equals 19. So the y is 4. Now I just have to solve. So I'm going to have 4x plus 12 equals 19. I subtract 12 from both sides. I get 4x equals 7. I divide by 4, divide by 4. I get x equals 7/4, or 1 3/4, or 1.75. So I'm going to write my order pair solution as 1 3/4, and then y is 4. And that's it for number 2. Number 3, exactly the same as 1 and 2. The y's are already the same number without the sign, so they're ready to cancel. You add, you get 3x equals 12. Divide by 3 on both sides, I get x equals 4. I'm going to take that 4, I'm going to plug it in for x in the original problem. I'm going to pick the top. So I'm going to read the top as x plus 3y equals negative 1. But remember, x is 4. So now I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, and we get 3y equals negative 5. So y equals negative 5/3. Now I have an x and a y, so I'm going to write that as an ordered pair. 4, negative 5/3. Maybe you write negative 1.3 or negative 1.6 repeating. Maybe you write negative 1 2/3. Any of those are okay. 4 is very same setup. The y's already match. I end up with 4x equals negative 8. Divide by 4 on both sides. X equals negative 2. I'm going to take that negative 2 and I'm going to plug it into the top equation. So I'm going to read at the top as the empty parentheses instead of x plus 2y equals 1. And negative 2 goes in for x. Now I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So I'm going to get 2y equals 3. So y equals 1.5, or maybe you write 3/2, or maybe you write 1.5. I'm going to take, I have an x, I have a y, so I'm going to write as an ordered pair. I have -2, 1.5. And that's it for number 4. Alright, number 5, exact same setup. This time the y's are going to cancel out, so I end up with 2x equals 12. So x equals 6. I'm going to take that 6, I'm going to plug it into the top. So I'm going to have 6 plus y equals 2. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. We got y equals -4. I have an x, I have a y. I'm going to tie them together as an ordered pair. And -4, 6 is my solution. 6, once again, same exact setup as every problem we've done so far on the front page. The y's already canceled, so I'm going to have 3x equals 21. Divide by 3 on both sides, x equals 7. I'm going to take that 7, I'm going to plug it in for x in the top equation. I'm going to use the top equation. 7 plus 2y equals -1. I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. I get 2y equals -8. So y equals -4. I have a y, I have an x. I'm going to tie them together as an ordered pair. So your ordered pair is going to be 7, -4. And that's it for the front page. Alright, so now it's going to be a little bit harder because the second page you're going to have to multiply. So I'm going to look at number 7. I'm going to look at the y's. I want the y's to cancel out, but they need to be opposite signs. So I'm going to multiply the bottom by 2. Because if I multiply the bottom by 2, and I'm allowed to do this as long as I do it everything, as long as I multiply all 3 of them by 2, I'm going to get 3x plus 2y equals 14. Now that's important because if I keep this one the same, the top is going to turn into 4x minus 2y equal 2. And now my y's have the same number. My y's are going to cancel there. Same number with opposite signs. 4x and 3x is, oh, I messed up. 4x and 6x. I end with 10x equals 16. So x is equal to 1.6. I'm going to take 1.6. I'm going to plug it into the original problem. So I'm going to plug it into the top. 4 instead of x, I put 1.6 minus 2y equals 2. 4 times 1.6 is 6.4 minus 2y equals 2. I'm going to subtract 6.4 from both sides. I get minus 2y equals negative 4.4. Divide by -2, I get y equals positive 2.2. So I have an x, I have a y. I'm going to tie them together to get an ordered pair. And my solution is going to be 1.6, 2.2. And that's it for number 7. Number 8, very similar. So once again, I'm going to look at number 8. And I'm going to look at the x's. The reason I'm going to change the x's is because they're already the same, they're already opposite signs. So I'm going to multiply the top by 3. If I multiply the top by 3, remember, you have to multiply everything by 3. The most common mistake is somebody forgets to multiply everything by 3. So this top is going to turn into negative 3x plus 30y equals negative 30. And the bottom I'm going to keep the same. So it's going to become 3x plus 60y equals 30. Now the x's cancel. I get 90y equals 0. Now a lot of people get confused here because of the 0, but you can divide anything by 0 by anything. So I'm going to divide 90 on both sides. I get y equals 0. I'm going to take that y, I'm going to plug it into the top or the bottom. I'll plug it into the bottom. So I get 3x plus 60, but instead of y, I'm going to put 0 equals 30. So I get 3x equals 30. So x equals 10. I have an x, I have a y. The ordered pair is 10, 0. That's the solution. Alright, number 9, very similar. Once again, I'm going to look at the x's because they're already opposite signs. And I'm going to multiply the top by 3, because if I multiply the top by 3, then I'll have 3x and negative 3x, and they will cancel. Now once again, remember you multiply everything by 3. So I have 3x plus 3y equals 6. I multiplied everything by 3. I'm going to keep the bottom the same. So the bottom is going to stay negative 3x plus 4y equals 15. Now I combine my like terms. The x's cancel. I end up with 7y equals 21. I'm going to start solving now. So I'm going to divide by 7. I get y equals 3. I'm going to take that 3, I'm going to plug it into the original. I'm going to use the top this time. So I'm going to write x plus, instead of y, I'm going to put 3. Equals 2. I subtract 3 from both sides. Get x equals negative 1. I have an x, I have a y. It's time together my solution. Negative 1, 3. That's my solution. Number 10, very, very similar. This time I'm going to get rid of the y's because the y's already have opposite signs. So I'm going to multiply the top by 5. So the top is going to turn into 5x minus 5y equals negative 40. Because remember, I multiplied everything by 5. The bottom is going to stay the same. So it's going to become 7x plus 5y equals 16. Now, I'm going to combine my like terms. 5x and 7x is 12x. The y's are gone. Negative 40 and 16 is minus 24. So now I'm going to divide by 12 on both sides. I get x equals negative 2. There's my answer for x. I'm going to plug it into the top. Right there. I'm going to say negative 2 minus y equals negative 8. Add 2 to both sides. I get negative y equals negative 6. Divide by negative 1, y equals positive 6. I have an x, I have a y, the order pair. Negative 2, 6 is the solution. And that finishes number 10. Alright, number 11, very similar concept. Once again, I look at 11. I have an x, and then I have x's that are already opposite signs. So I'm going to multiply the top one by 4. Because if I multiply the top by 4, I'm going to get 4x plus 20y equals 68. Now I'm going to keep the bottom the same, because then I'll have negative 4x plus 3y equals 24. Now I'm going to add vertically. The x's cancel out. I get 23y equals 102. Oh, not 102, 92. That should have been 92. I was just going crazy for a second. Now I divide by 23 on both sides. I get y equals 4. Now I'm going to take that y, I'm going to plug it into the top or the bottom. I'm going to pick the top y, but it doesn't matter which one you plug it into. So I'm going to have x plus 5, but instead of y, I'm going to put 4 equals 17. And now I'm just going to start solving. 5 times 4 is 20, so I'm going to have x plus 20 equals 17. Minus 20 from both sides. X equals negative 3. I have an x, I have a y. My answer, or my solution, is negative 3, 4 is the solution. Now 12 is a little bit different because everything's positive. So since everything's positive, I'm going to multiply the top. I'm going to multiply one of these by a negative, either the top or the bottom. So since everything's positive, I'm going to always pick the smaller of the y's, or smaller of the letters. So like one y and 2y are a little bit smaller. I'm going to multiply the top, not by 2, because that will give me 2y and negative, or 2y and 2y, negative 2. So if I multiply the top by negative 2, I'm going to end up with negative 12x minus 2y. I'm just going to write that here and we're out of space. So I'm going to write, the top's going to be multiplied by negative 2, so I multiply everything by negative 2. I end up with minus 12x minus 2y equals positive 78. Now the bottom, I'm going to keep the same. So it's going to stay 3x plus 2y equals negative 15. Now I'm going to add. The y's cancel. I end up with negative 9x equals 63. I divide by negative 9 on both sides. I get x equals negative 7. Now I'm going to take that negative 7, I'm going to plug it into the top x. Plug it right there. It doesn't really matter which one you use, but I'm going to use the top x. So I'm going to have 6 times negative 7 plus y equals negative 39. So I get negative 42 plus y equals negative 39. I add 42 to both sides, so y equals 3. I have a y, I have an x, I tie them together. My order pair answer is negative 7, 3. That's the solution. And that's it for the second page. Alright, the last page is very similar, except now I have to multiply the top and the bottom by a different number. A lot of times we're going to use the least common multiples. You'll use the least common multiple. And I'll do that in 13. So I'll look at 13, and I'm going to use the x's. I want the x's to go away. I'm going to multiply the top by 2. So I'm going to take the top and multiply everything by 2. Because the multiples of 9 are 9, 18, 27, and so forth. The multiples of 6, 6, 12, 18. I notice 18 is the least common multiple. So if I multiply the top by 2, it will give me 18x plus 24y equals 2 times 87 is 174. Now I'm going to multiply the bottom by negative 3. Now the reason it's going to be a negative 3 is because these are both positive and I want them to cancel, so one of them had to be negative. If I multiply by positive 3, I just get 18x, but now that I multiply by negative 3, so remember negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, and with negative 18x minus 15y, 43 times negative 3 is negative 129. So now I'm going to combine my like terms. The x's are going to cancel. I'm going to get 9y, and 174 minus 129 is 45. Divide by 9, I get y equals 5. I'm going to take that y, I'm going to plug it in the top of the bottom. I'm going to pick the bottom y, but it does not matter which y you pick. So I'm going to rewrite the bottom as 6x plus 5, but instead of y, I'm going to end up putting 5 in. And notice I use the original. I think that's best to use the original. So now I'm just going to multiply. 5 times 5, I get 6x plus 25 equals 43. I minus 25 from both sides. I get 6x equals 18, x equals 3. I have an x, I have a y, right as an order pair. 3, 5 is my solution. So the only difference between the second page and third page is now you have to multiply by just a little bit more. By both equations have to be multiplied. 14, very similar to 13, except it depends on what you use. You could multiply to make the y's go away. I'm going to make the x's go away since they're already opposite signs. So I'm going to multiply the top by 7, and I'm going to multiply the bottom by 8. That's another trick. If you don't know the least common multiple, you can just do that. You can just multiply by the number you see. And I'm going to write this in the next line. So I'm going to multiply the bottom by 8. I'm going to multiply the top by 7. So the top is going to become 56x plus 21y equals 28. And the bottom is going to become negative 56x. And notice, guys, look, matching numbers, opposite signs, plus 40y equals negative, or 8 times negative 34 is negative 272. I end up with 62 equals this should be 60. I messed up over here. It should be 61y equals negative 244. I divide by 61 on both sides. I get y equals negative 4. I have a y. I'm going to plug it into the original. I'm going to plug it into the top y, but it doesn't matter which one you plug it into. So I'm going to rewrite the top as 8x plus 3, but instead of y, I'm going to put negative 4 equals 4. I'm going to multiply 3 times negative 4 to get negative 12. So I have 8x minus 12 equals 4. I'm going to add 12 to both sides to get 8x equals 16. X equals 2. I have an x, I have a y, so that means the solution is 2, negative 4. And that's it for 14. Alright, 15, the exact same concept. I am going to get rid of the x's. You can get rid of the y's too. You can multiply the top by 5 and the bottom by negative 7. I'm going to get rid of the x's just because in my mind they're a little bit smaller. So I'm going to multiply the top by negative 3. So the top is going to turn into, I'm going to multiply that by negative 3, by negative 3, by negative 3. And I know that one of them has to be negative that I multiply by because the x's are both positive. So that gives me negative 12x minus plus, or equals, sorry, negative 3 times negative 80 is positive 240. Now I'm going to multiply the bottom. I'm going to multiply by positive 4. So I'm going to multiply the bottom. I multiply this guy by 4, this guy by 4, this guy by 4. I end up with 12x plus 20y. 4 times negative 58 is negative 232. The x's cancel. I'm left with y equals 8. I'm going to take that y, I'm going to plug it in for x, or for y, I mean, in the bottom equation. It doesn't matter which one you use. You could use the top or the bottom. So the top equation is going to become 3x plus 5, but instead of y, I put 8, equals negative 58. I get 3x plus 40 equals negative 58. I minus from both sides, I get 3x equals negative 98. I divide by 3 on both sides. I get x equals negative 32 and 2/3. So I have an x, I have a y, my answer is negative 32 and 2/3, and 8. And that's my solution. 16, very, very similar. Once again, I'm going to focus on the y's because they're a little bit smaller numbers in my opinion. I multiply the top by negative 2. So multiply the top, the 8 by negative 2, by negative 2, and by negative 2. I end up with negative 16x plus, it should be minus 6y equals 14. Now the bottom, I'm going to multiply the bottom by positive 3. So this by 3, this by 3, this by 3. I end up with 21x plus 6y equals negative 9. I end up with 5x, because the y's cancel, equals 5. That means x equals 1. I'm going to take that 1, I'm going to plug it into the bottom x, but you can plug in the top x, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to read at the top as 7 times, instead of x1, plus 2y equals negative 3. I get 7 plus 2y equals negative 3. I subtract 7 from both sides. I get 2y equals negative 10. So y equals negative 5. I have an x, I have a y, right as an order pair, 1, negative 5. That's it for number 16. Alright, number 17, I'm going to get rid of the x's. Once again, they're both positive, so I'm going to multiply the top by negative 3. So I'm going to multiply the top by negative 3. Every one of those is going to get multiplied by negative 3. So I'm going to get negative 6x plus 9y equals negative 21. And now I'm going to multiply the top by 2. So multiply that by 2 by 2 by 2. I get positive 6x minus 8y equals 16. I add vertically, I get 1y, or just positive y, equals negative 5. I take that negative 5 and I plug it into the top or the bottom. I'll plug it into the top y. So now I'm going to rewrite the top, but instead of y, I'm going to put negative 5. So I have 2x minus 3 times negative 5 equals 7. Negative 3 times negative 5 is 15, so I have 2x plus 15 equals 7. I subtract 15 from both sides. I get 2x equals negative 8. So x equals negative 2. I have an x, I have a y. Together it's negative 2, negative 5, and that's it. In 18 is actually back to an easier version because you don't have to multiply. You could multiply the top and together the x's, but I'm just going to multiply by 2. I'm going to leave the bottom the same. So the top's going to become 14x minus 2y equals 8. And the bottom's going to become, or is it going to stay, 5x plus 2y equals 11. Now I'm going to add vertically. So we get 19x equals 19. So x equals 1. I'm going to take that x, I'm going to plug it into the original. I'll use the top equation. Plug it in right there. So I'm going to have 7 instead of x. I'm going to put 1 minus y equals 4. I have 7 minus y equals 4. I subtract 7 from both sides. I get minus y equals negative 3. So y equals positive 3. I have an x. I have a y. 1, 3 is my ordered pair. That's the solution. All right, and that's it for this.